you are speaking Portuguese and then you make a mistake. Oh, meu Deus. Oh, meu Deus. Oh, my God. And then you freeze. Do you freeze when you make mistakes? When you realize that you just did something that wasn't quite correct? And then you think, should I correct that? Should I start the sentence again? Go back, keep going? So today, I will explain when you should correct your mistakes and when you should just move on and forget about it. Olá, I'm Sara. I'm Portuguese from Lisbon. I'm Portuguese teacher and I'm here not only to help you learn Portuguese, but to have the best life possible that you want and deserve in Portugal with the Portuguese. So welcome back to my channel, and let's dive into this topic of making mistakes and what to do with them. Because if we're learning something new, for example, you're learning Portuguese as a foreign language, mistakes are inevitable. So, inevitáveis. There's no way you're going to learn something new without making mistakes. So, the myth of total correction. What is this? Many learners think that they have to fix every single mistake immediately, or they will learn it wrong. That creates a perfectionist mindset that leads to anxiety and then to a freeze response. It happens, as I said, perfectionist, because you are trying to say everything perfectly every single time, and you are putting too much effort where you shouldn't. Because if you are trying to do this in every single moment of your speaking time, you are thinking too much, you overthink for this reason, and then you freeze because it's just not possible. A normal conversation is not like this. Your aim should be speaking like you speak your native language. I'm not talking about being correct, but the flow. Fluency, it's about the flow. If you are always, let me think about if I should say the next word this way. You see, this is not fluency. Even if you make mistakes, you can consider yourself fluent if you speak like this. You know, with the flow, with a normal intonation. When we speak, we put a couple of words together and then we breathe. Alright, so each language has its own intonation and you speak like this. That's what makes you fluent. And if you are trying to correct every single mistake that you do, then is way too tiring. You won't be able to do it for a long time, and you won't just you are punishing yourself for the mistakes, and you are going to feel very overwhelmed by doing this. If you try to fix every single mistake, you'll never speak naturally. And one of the things that you aim is not just to speak correctly, but naturally, right? And if you speak in a non-natural way, it will always also feel and be tiring and not pleasant enough for your listener, for the person that you are talking with. Okay? And there are 3 types of correction, and I'll give you these 3 types with examples. So the first type of correction is the immediate correction. Stopping mid-sentence to fix it. So it's useful in practice, but disruptive in conversations. For example, in my conversation clubs, what I do is the students are speaking and I have a Word document, and while they are speaking, I write down what they are saying. I strategically write down what they are saying. So I write down what they're saying without the mistakes. So I'm not interrupting them every single time, interrupting their line of thought, because even between native speakers, we don't like to be interrupted every single time, right? For example, between Portuguese and Portuguese, or an American, another American having conversation, having there always an interruption is not ideal. Okay, so what applies to any other conversation between two native speakers of the same language applies also when you are speaking Portuguese and you're not a native speaker with other Portuguese speaker, whether they are native or not. So what I do in my classes is I write their sentences strategically and I write them correctly. So when they finish what they want to say, their line of thought, o raciocínio, they can look at it and correct. Sometimes while they are speaking, they are reading what I'm saying, what I'm writing. They are reading what I'm writing, and they can correct themselves. Okay, so it's a good exercise that we do. Second is delayed correction, writing it down and reviewing later. This is best for fluency and reflection. Something that we also can do, for example, after a couple of lessons, I start realizing what kind of mistakes my students usually do. If it's pronunciation, if it's a grammatical topic, I know what that is, and later on I can address it more specifically and say, I've noticed that you struggle with this sound, so let's talk about it. Let's go through it to help you improve this specific thing that you know that you are making mistakes. Okay, but with no negative feelings. Only feeling that I have is like I feel very good, I feel very helpful, delight to be able to help someone learning Portuguese and help them achieving their goals. All right, so that's, for me, that's how I feel when I'm helping someone, correcting their mistakes or learning something new, explaining something that they don't understand. Could be anything related to learn Portuguese. I'm just happy to help people understand my native language, my culture, my people. And the third type of correction is the natural correction. When a native native speaker reacts to your phrase and right away without directly correcting you. When a native speaker repeats your phrase the right way without directly correcting you, which is very common in Portugal. People do this way. You said something and then they repeat, just repeat the same sentence that the other person said, but correcting it. Not just in terms of language. If someone has an opinion that they do not agree with, they rephrase, they say the same sentence but in a different way, so it matches what they believe it's actually true. Okay, so if they say ela é 25 anos, this is grammatically wrong. Ela é 25 anos. Then a good correction in this kind of correction, an example would be ela tem 25 anos. Because in English we say she is 25, but in Portuguese is not this verb, is the verb have, to have. So we say she has 25 years old, and for us it makes totally sense. I know that English is different. Well, that's why these are different languages, right? So let's say you say ela é 25 anos. I could correct this way. Ela tem 25 anos. Instead of saying, oh, you said é, but it's not é, it's tem. Okay, this kind of correction. Let me know in the comments if you ever experienced this kind of correction, these three. Immediate correction, delayed correction, and natural correction. Probably the first and the third, because these are the most common one. Especially for the Portuguese, they really love to correct others, especially when it comes to language. Even between Portuguese people love to correct other Portuguese and Portuguese speakers in general, not just Portuguese nationals, Portuguese speakers, Brazilian speakers, even actually too much. Sometimes Portuguese think that they own the language and they have the right to correct everything and everyone in terms of language. Of course, not every single one, but a lot of people, especially on social media, you can see that people are mean and they do this overcorrection. All right? And the next thing that I would like to talk to you about is, and it's also important, when to correct and when not to. Sara, are you saying that we don't have to correct people every single time? Are you telling me that I don't need or I don't have to receive correction every single time? Yes. So when you should correct yourself or receive correction. For example, you're practicing with focus, something specific, for example, in class. If you're in class, your teacher, for example, me as a teacher, I see that my student made a mistake, I will point that out. I will choose, depending on the circumstance, depends on the situation. There are different factors. I realize the mistake. I may think that in that specific situation, to that specific student, maybe it's better to correct in the end of the class, or I write what the student is saying, correcting this kind of correction. All right, then I decide. It depends. Like, we need to have this flexibility to understand our student and know what kind of correction is better for this student at this point, at this moment, this class. All right. The other situation where you're supposed to receive correction is that the mistake changes the meaning of your sentence. If the mistake changes the meaning of your sentence, that case, it's important to tell you that that's not the word you should use. For example, if it doesn't change the meaning of your sentence, then it is not that important. It's not a big issue, because sometimes if you make some mistakes, you are still going to be understood by native speakers, or even by people that speak Portuguese but are not native speakers. Okay, so the thing of comprehension, if you are making a mistake, 1 or 2 or 3, but people still can't understand you, that's very good. That's the first milestone that you should have in mind. Are people understanding me? Amazing. So this is the first thing, very important. If you're saying something and because of the mistake people don't understand you, so then you need to address this more carefully. It's more important that you change the way that you are using the language, the way you speak, and to correct it. And when it's a common error that you are working on. So if I notice that if you are my student, you are making this mistake this class, and I remember that you did the mistake last class and the other class, then it's something that you should work on. And me as your teacher, I would say, oh, I don't know if you already noticed, but usually you do this kind of mistake, so let's address that. Okay, so these are the mistakes that you should correct, and you can correct yourself. And don't correct them. Don't correct your mistakes when you are in a real conversation. Because in a real conversation with a native speaker, the goal is not to speak Portuguese correctly. You need to speak Portuguese correctly in order to be understood, and then you can make the conversation, the interaction. Language is a mean to an end, and that end is more important. So you are in a real conversation. The goal is to interact and understand and be understood. All right? If you make a mistake and the other person understands you, this is not a moment to correct. if you are, for example, in a coffee shop and you are with your friend and you are ordering your coffee, your whatever, when you are ordering, make a mistake, and while you ordering, he or she understands, your friend doesn't need to interrupt you to correct. Okay? If you are having a conversation with a Portuguese and you are able to have the conversation, keep going, go through the conversation, if there will be mistakes, this is not the point to the moment to correct. Okay? This is real life, this is real world, this is to use language. You are living your life. Okay? It's not just to practice, it is to live. That's what you end up, that's the ultimate goal. You learn and you practice just to use the language, all right? And when you stopping would break the flow. As I said before, you don't want to talk like this. You want the flow. Let it go, let it flow. If you get way too nervous because someone is correcting you, and then you cannot keep up the conversation, then it's better if the correction doesn't happen at all. And when your goal is to communicate, not to be perfect. Okay? Again, let it go, let it flow. There are like, you know, the King Solomon, he wrote in the Bible that there is a right moment and a right place, right thing for everything. There's a right moment for everything. There are moments when you just want and need to use language. And there are other moments that you are more focused on practicing and being corrected. Okay? Everything that is in excess, is too much, is bad. So we need to be balanced. And okay, sometimes we focus on correction. Other times we just focus on the flow, focus on this specific situation when I want to communicate, and I use the language the way I know. This is what I did when I went to France. I had French in school, and French is not something that's part of my life. I just know some things in French. But when I go, for example, I went to Morocco this year, also to Toulouse in the south of France. I just used the French that I knew to do what I needed to do. And if I wasn't speaking correctly, I don't care, because my goal wasn't to be correct. I wanted to make myself understood, and if they don't speak English, then that's the best option that I have, right? And the golden rule. Yes, we have a golden rule here. And that golden rule is, if you're training fluency, keep going. If you're training accuracy, stop and correct. But never let the fear of being wrong stop you from speaking. This is extremely important. This is something that a lot of students miss. And if you can follow this golden rule, you'll be setting yourself up to success. So I will repeat it again. If you're training fluency, keep going. If you're training accuracy, stop and correct. But never let the fear of being wrong stop you from speaking. So, you want to improve your Portuguese? Amazing. But remember, fluency comes from real communication, and real communication includes mistakes. Even native speakers make mistakes. Different kinds of mistakes. Did you know? So, tell me in the comments, do you actually stop when you make a mistake? Do you overthink about your mistake and you think, oh my God, I did a mistake. What are they going to think about it? Think about me. How do you handle when you make mistakes? I will wait for your comments in the description below. All right? If you're looking for classes, I have my WhatsApp down below. Also, subscribe to receive more videos like this and other kind of videos, all related to learn Portuguese and having the best life possible in Portugal. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here with me, and see you next video. Tchau, tchau. Fica bem.